संभव राष्ट्रीय राजधानी ने पहली बार एक ऐसे मेगा समिट को होस्ट किया जो पूरी तरह से SMBs इकोसिस्टम के लिए आयोजित किया गया था। इस 2 दिन के समिट का उद्देश्य SMBs को एक ऐसी दुनिया में ले जाना था जहां प्रौद्योगिकी ने इनके लिए अनंत संभावनाओं के दरवाजे खोल दिए हैं और 3600 से अधिक SMBs की भागीदारी ने Amazon संभव की सफलता को साबित कर दिया। इस समिट ने SMBs को लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजिकल इनोवेशन, बिजनेस बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस और आज के कंपनियों की सक्सेस स्टोरीज जानने का अवसर दिया। यहाँ मौजूद प्रभावशाली स्पीकर्स ने SMBs के लिए नए आयाम खोल दिए। इसके साथ ही विभिन्न उद्योगों के प्रेरणादायक लीडर्स ने SMBs के वैश्विक विस्तार के सपने को गति दी। इस आयोजन में नारायण मूर्ति और किशोर बियानी जैसे दिग्गजों ने अपने अनुभव और जीवन के किस्सों को दर्शकों के साथ साझा किया।
So I started my career by supplying fabrics to the garment industry. So I came to know a little bit about the garment industry. Then I thought I should create my own garment company. So that's how my first brand came about, Pantaloons.
इस मंच ने SMBs मेगा इवेंट को बढ़ावा देने के उद्देश्य से विभिन्न उद्योगों के प्रतिनिधि, नीति निर्माताओं, विचारकों की मेजबानी की। इस समिट में Amazon के संस्थापक और CEO जेफ बेजोस ने भी अपनी उपस्थिति दर्ज कराई। साथ ही Amazon इंडिया के सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट और कंट्री हेड अमित अग्रवाल के साथ एक कैंडिड फायरसाइड चैट में जेफ बेजोस ने अपने जीवन के अनुभव बताते हुए SMBs का उत्साह बढ़ाया और साथ ही इस देश के उज्जवल भविष्य की उम्मीद जताई।
I predict that the 21st century is going to be the Indian century.
तेजी से बढ़ती अर्थव्यवस्था में अपना योगदान देने की सोच के चलते SMBs को ऑफलाइन रिटेल और ई-कॉमर्स के बीच तालमेल बिठाना होगा और यही था यहाँ हुई कुछ खास चर्चाओं में से एक विषय।
Let me start with Sumit first. Sumit, between KFC, Pizza Hut, Paradise, more retail, there are about 1,000 retail outlets or more. So how is this playing out for you between online and versus offline? How will this unfold?
Every category, I think from a consumer perspective, they will experience it in an omni-channel manner. Only thing is, category by category, the mix will vary. Now on one end of the spectrum are what I would call virtual categories, when there is no physical exchange of goods, which would be movie ticket, airline ticket, music for example, where predominantly significant portion is online. Then I think there are categories somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, from apparel to shoes to electronics, where the mix is online, offline. And I think then there are categories what I would call on the other end of the spectrum, where food and grocery and restaurant. Now in each part of the spectrum, the best way to win is if the ecosystem, so I think we are entering a world where companies will not win, ecosystem will win. And I think having the right ecosystem partners is going to make a very big difference.
Nilesh, the real battle scars or real fight is actually in electronics and wireless. You've been at the forefront of it. What's been your experience, this online and offline? How is it unfolding for you?
See, basically if you see, I think today electronics is a major in thing for everybody and across the age gaps, whether it's the youngsters or the elders or middle age. So what we are seeing is online has actually spurred a growth of consumption in the electronics. But the major issue with online and offline electronics is, I think, two things, which is the talk of the nation, and that is on the pricing war and availability. So there are a lot of online exclusive models, offline exclusive models. We understand that there is going to be an online customer, there is going to be an offline customer, and these two customers are the same customers who will buy some products online, some products offline, sometimes online, sometimes offline. So I think it's the ecosystem, as he has just rightly put in, how the ecosystem evolves. I think we are still at an evolution stage. Maybe I think another 2 or 3 years, I think we'll reach a maturity where I think everybody will realize that there's a room for every player to do his business.
Let me move to the next theme of the discussion, which is how the two channels can be leveraged. And Sandeep, Bata is the most loved kind of footwear brand. We all grew up wearing it. You also have a very rural tier 2, tier 3 distribution also. And yet you built very strong online presence. You said more than 5% of your revenues now are online. What did you do?
You know, when you start looking at a brand which has been here for 85 years, when you are 85 years old, some of that age does rub off onto your brand. Yeah, you do start feeling slightly old, and your youngsters don't really walk into your stores as often as you would like them to. This is where you again go back. This is where digital plays a big role for us. The younger profile of the marketplace, of the digital spaces, allows us access to that younger audience. So for us, from both points of view, reaching out to our current audiences in urban centers, but also reaching out to audiences which we would not ever be financially or commercially positively reach out, is a great opportunity for us.
Rajiv, let me come to you. Shoppers Stop is the fashion destination, right, for India, and you have more than 260 outlets. And yet you decided to have your own app, right, with 7.5 million downloads. So how did you approach it? What were some of the debates that you had internally in the organization as you looked at online and offline?
So we've gone through a bit of a journey with regards to the online and offline. We started initially only as a pure online, and we set up a separate cell within the company which was working purely on online. About 18 months ago, we sort of realized that a customer is not only shopping either online or offline, but the customer journey is important between exploring online, discovering online, and shopping in the stores. And we really believe that the fusion of online and offline is where the customer wants to be. 70% of our e-com sales now come from our stores and are delivered to our stores. We recently also set up with Amazon EDI connection on 4 of our stores, and there is more going to be coming through, where we are able to reach cities where we are not present. And that's how we are finding that the combination of online and offline is working very well.
Manish, you would have seen in last 4 years at Amazon, many digital native brands starting their journey online only, and now venturing to offline. So what are some of the learnings over there, and how does one, especially for relevant to our audience, if they start with Amazon online, how can they successfully scale to offline?
Yeah, I think it's for brands which are starting afresh, online provides a very controlled environment in which they can experiment, they can try out things with their brand, and then take it offline. Nilesh spoke about electronics. Everyone from Xiaomi to OnePlus to TCL, these companies have been able to experiment online, fine-tune their brand, fine-tune the product, and then they take it offline. And therefore, I think it really gives a launch pad for all new entrepreneurs who want to launch services and brands to try it online, to learn, experiment, and then take it offline. And I think that model works across any category you can think of, from food grocery. We saw Vardhan the tea company coming up. We spoke about electronics. So it works everywhere.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for making a trip. Really, really appreciate
Amazon Smbhav समिट में हुई चर्चाओं में शामिल कुछ पैनलिस्ट ने SMBs की भूमिका और उनके प्रोत्साहन पर रोशनी डाली।
I think let me start off with Deepak, you. We've been talking about the topics well known. Thoughts from your side in terms of what needs to be done for what sector, where does investment need to go in, what will it take for us to get from where we are to a $5 trillion number as an aspiration?
In the past 48 months, see what we've done. Actually, 55 months. You've overtaken Russia, Italy, Brazil, France. This year, you will sort of equal and overtake UK, and hopefully next year you will overtake Germany. You'll become number 4 next year. So do not underestimate what you've already done, which is phenomenal. What is more interesting is where all it ought to be done is the question which you asked me. And I think if you firmly ask me, all the 3 elements, the primary, the secondary and the tertiary sector, will have to play a big role. The services sector in any case is playing a big role. But I think the next new level of transformation is going to come from the agriculture sector and the primary sector. I see that going to be the big engine going forward, and with that the MSME, which is today contributing 29 to 30% of your GDP, is going to be the next big engine.
Samit, this comes to you. You engage with them a lot. I'm sure they are far-flung areas. We talked about Assam some time back, which you've been working in. What are your thoughts in terms of how lending, finance at that level can play a role in driving this?
We as a microfinance institution have been involved with microfinance since 2005. What we've seen is a lot of people, like from the bottom of the pyramid, is actually moving up, and especially in the last few years. It has accelerated, and the next revolution which will happen and which will create the demand for the $5 trillion economy is not going to come so much from the middle class and affluent, but it will come from the aspiring middle class, which is the mass market in India. We have about 5 million customers today. Our target is that we reach about 40 million customers within 7 years. So and we are serving that segment of the customers, which is the aspiring middle class, and that is what I think will drive your $5 trillion economy.
Thank you so much. Rajiv, over to you. You've been at the brink of innovation from a long time in your career. You're the person who brought color television into India. How do you see technology playing a role for the small entrepreneurs, SMB enterprises, and trying to drive this whole thing around the $5 trillion economy?
We need to be the engine of the world with such a young population on the economic front, on the technology front, on the energy front. And if today China is threatening the US, and probably in the next 10 years it might overtake the US, it is because they have invested in technologies which are cutting edge. If we really want to dominate the world, $5 trillion is a given. We must invest in technologies which are cutting edge. We must go ahead of the curve. So I feel government has done a fabulous job, and the plans which one sees, they are fabulous. But I think we now must look beyond the $5 trillion.
Raghav, I think while we look at the external aspects which we've had people talking about, we heard Rajiv talking about robots and technology. From the e-commerce industry perspective, how do you energize the MSMEs? Is your thinking in line with what the government is doing in terms of bringing up the tier 2 and tier 3 and MSMEs into the race? How do you play this?
I think since Rajiv mentioned China, it's good to sort of compare China with India and see what is a model that India can follow. I think what we can learn from China is that internet and technology play a very big role in enabling the growth of new sectors in the economy. The strength of India lies in the large base of small and medium enterprises. So follow a manufacturing model that is probably different from China, but uses technology at the same time. China, for example, large enterprises are effectively B2B manufacturing. Maybe the small and medium businesses in India need to follow B2C in their growth. So you've created new products, online can then help you connect them with customers directly, and probably follow a very different way of evolving the economy, where scale is not that important.
Thank you.
Take on from
of course, please,
point.
please.
Actually, if you look at it, we are now moving towards the 4th industrial revolution, what is called Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing. The key advantages that this revolution will provide to countries like India is that scale is no longer that important, as has been mentioned. And so therefore small and medium businesses can really, collectively get together and with smart technology, smart manufacturing can really move ahead. And in fact, not even just manufacturing. Under Industry 4.0, the distinction between manufacturing and services is going away. So in the earlier era of the third industrial revolution, you really needed scale. Only large-scale manufacturing enterprises could provide goods at a lower cost. Whereas now even small-scale and medium-scale enterprises can enable production at a much lower cost.
Great point, Vidisha. Sumit, some ideas from your side which would excite the audience here. What is the kind of scope you're seeing? What are things that they can learn from, some learnings you've had in the past which could be shareable today?
I think the government has to create an enabling environment, but stay away from prescription, So that, I think if that happens, that will help in this segment of the population, for especially the micro and small businesses, which we fund through microfinance. The growth is coming today not from the metros, but from the smaller cities, from the semi-urban areas, and from the rural areas. It is not the English-speaking people, it is the vernacular-speaking customers. And that is what we need to target, and support.
Rajiv, as we wrap up, Coach, are there any challenges we need to keep at bay as we look forward to the $5 trillion economy?
We must realize that Amazon has made a wonderful e-commerce backend panel, which is very user-friendly. Before we realize, this generation, which is today in colleges, etc., would be ready to come onto the Amazon platform. And that is where our education, the type of education we provide, STEM education, this generation has to become tech-savvy. The government has done a wonderful job over the last maybe 10, 15 years. And when I compare it with China, and I was asking some of these small and medium entrepreneurs, how much is your interface with the government? Practically zero. And no interference, and yet government has enabled them to function and focus only on their business. We have to reduce the interface with the government. When we look at an Alipay or Alibaba or Tencent or WeChat or related organizations which have come out of China, or when we look at an Uber coming out of the US, some of the early investors in Uber were from China. Some of the early investors in WeChat were from the US. The capital, the way it is flowing, and the enablement which these governments did, for us also, we have done a lot in the recent past. We need to do more, where the free flow of capital, where somebody spots a powerhouse, innovation powerhouse, and what you're doing, there will be huge amount of companies which will have great ideas. So where they can be nurtured, they can get the right finance and make, global enterprises. So that's my 2 bits to it.
Well, I'd like to thank the panelists. It's been a wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you for making it here. For all of you in the panel, thanks again. Network with each other, learn from each other, make the best of the day. Thank you again.
भारतीय SMBs के तेजी से होते विकास को सराहते हुए Amazon संभव ने इस क्षेत्र से दिग्गजों और उभरती हुई प्रतिभाओं को सम्मानित भी किया। Woman Entrepreneur of the Year, Tanvi Johri, Kamesi, Digital SMB of the Year, Play Shifu, Global SMB of the Year, Wadham Tea, Best SMB Brand of the Year, Be Safe, Social Entrepreneur of the Year, Kadam Han, Innovator of the Year, Try and Buy Fashion, Youth SMB of the Year, Arjun Vaidya, CEO, Dr. Vaidya, Fastest Growing SMB of the Year, Bloom Solar, Transformation of the Year, Bain Chef.
We were fortunate to win the Global SMB of the Year, and more importantly, I think getting it from Jeff Bezos. I think I'm still pinching myself that if that really happened, but I think getting it from Jeff Bezos himself was, I think, cherry on the cake.
The start of the year could not have been better because I represent a brand that works on women's issues, and being awarded this award for the women's entrepreneur, I think is extremely relevant and I'm very happy about it.
First of all, hearing Jeff and his stories and how he went through those times is very inspiring, but actually kind of meeting him and getting the award from him means a lot. And the whole team is super excited about that.
This will be quite encouraging for us because when we started, we had a lot of comment from a lot of people around because we were working on entirely new concept which was never being implemented. So people were really skeptical that whether it will work or not, or will it reach to a scale and all that stuff. And now after 6 years journey, we have reached to this level and have done reasonably good, and now we are scaling up it in entire India level. And then this award will be, kind of a very nice booster for our future scale-up plan.
Amazon का ये प्रयास भारत की संस्कृति का प्रतिनिधित्व करने वाले मेक इन इंडिया उत्पादों को दुनिया के सामने लाएगा और आने वाले भविष्य में SMBs देश की अर्थव्यवस्था में बढ़ चढ़कर सहयोग कर सकेंगे।
मान लिया तो संभव है।